Hello and welcome to In the Arts. I'm your host, Will Nichols, and I have a very good show for you this time that you enjoy. I'm with a very distinguished colleague of mine who is also, he's a radio announcer, and he on KPFA, I think it is. He has his own show, and he's experienced through the years in association with the jazz music, and of course some of the things that are offshoots from the jazz music as well, and influences through the media with the arts. So anyways, I'd like to welcome my distinguished colleague, Micheal Skolsuick.
Skolnick.
Yeah. So, so I have a few questions for you. Basically, where are you from?
I am a Midwesterner. I was born in a small town in western Michigan.
Okay, it's close enough. So am I. I'm Minnesota. So we got two M's, but go ahead.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
And did my undergraduate college at Michigan State. Then it was time to move to the West Coast. I had wanted to move out here since I had been in high school in the 60s,
Cool.
But it took a few years to get the means to do so, and I wanted to move out here, and one of the reasons was all the music that was going on the West Coast.
Yeah. When I came out here with my wife and family in '78, that was the motivation. We threw everything in the truck and made the turn through Iowa, came across the flatlands, and wound up out here and went up to the record place up in Berkeley. I can't think of it, Fan something. And I had some music, and that's what I came out here for, the same reason, man. And it's hard getting in because as a musician, you don't know nobody. It's very difficult. And I guess it's that way anywhere, because you almost have to step in and have a venue, kind of almost, and I hate proving myself, but that's almost what that comes to. And I was able to, thanks to Eddie Gale, he gave me my first gig. I wouldn't probably have had a way, got to meet all these other people, but I met them through him. So I thank him for that over the years, man.
Eddie has helped so many of us.
I know.
Whether we're musicians, radio folks, promoters, just people. Done a wonderful job of being a community representative of jazz.
Absolutely, and he's spread that on into other areas. Of course, we'll talk about that later on. With his affiliation with the AME Church, his World Peace Concerts and whatnot, affiliation will kind of ease into that. But I want to cover some area before that. Where the basic thing I mentioned earlier was the music itself, jazz music itself. It has so many different avenues and influences from different people playing it, so that you have these variations and varieties, but still under one a label, and it's under jazz. So we, like we say, notating it back in the presence or even the turn of the century, where jazz was at, where it came through the Dixieland and whatnot, and smoothed out later on. Or I don't want to say smoothed out. The influences out there came in, and the area that jazz wound up affected how it was played, like New York jazz, Chicago jazz, et cetera, and Kansas City jazz. All they're different, but it's jazz, and the influences from the area. Like I talk to people about the saxophone players. Like you can notice that saxophone players from New York play differently from Chicago and the South. The South got that soulful whine. Chicago just has the big city whine. New York, they play slide, saddle, and slick. In California, they got the kind of the laid-back, smooth type of thing, where it's articulated, but and kind of like you can see the reflection of the area through the music and whatnot. Now, a contradiction to that, there was a guy that wrote something in New York Joggers Through the Park. But if you listen to it, his name, I can't think of his name, but it was very popular, and it sounded like something out of California. So you always have a contradiction or exception to the rule. But
music travels.
Yes.
Songs are tourists.
Mm-hmm. Well, I noticed that when I was up in Canada, and on tour up there, they had in Vancouver, they had the festival all over the city, man. It's really, really quite nice and quite different, and the way they did that, and they like blues up there. I played in a great big blues club up there. I forgot the name, but they had about 20 guitar players on stage. That was a nightmare. Oh, I got nothing against guitar players, sure. Except when they all start tuning up at once.
I guess there can be too many.
Yes, I exaggerate. It wasn't 20, but it was enough to be rather like, okay, you ready yet? So
too much of a good thing.
Too much of a good thing, man. So that's how that's been happening. And of course, I appreciate getting back to the subject of how you worked our shows, and I appreciate that, And that's why I thank you for that. When I was working my group up in the city, and different things like that. So, speaking of shows, like, how long have you had the KPF thing, and what types of things do you usually like to have on there, or interviews or different ones? Any famous people that you had on there, or anyone infamous? Go ahead, Greg.
The show is on Friday mornings. It's an early show, 5 a.m., and I play jazz as well as other types of improvisational music, particularly those types of music that are known as jam bands. Have you ever heard of a jam band?
Better explain that for myself and the people out there too, so we both have a clear explanation of that.
Jam bands are bands that might be based in rock, blues, even Americana or bluegrass, often mixing different genres, sometimes all in the same song, but very importantly, dedicated to improvising. So that if you can think of a rock band or a blues outfit or even a bluegrass band, that then solos or does group improvisation, much as a jazz ensemble might. Examples of those bands that people might be familiar with historically, the Grateful Dead, the Allman Brothers, the Meters from New Orleans. In more recent years, groups like Fish, Galactic, Soul Live.
Because that reminds me of somewhat of the 60s when we had Jimi Hendrix them around. Now, he wasn't a jam band, but it's just the influences spread. And originally he was with Little Richard, Jimi Hendrix was.
That's right.
And they kind of were out with Little Richard because Little Richard would fly down to the gig, and the band come down in the bus. Them cats was all tired out and sweaty and mussed up and whatnot. So, but he exceeded from from that band. It came out, of course. All the rest is history. But
the term jam band wasn't used, at least as it is now, back in Jimi Hendrix's day. But he would certainly be a prime influence on a whole bunch of the jam bands.
I see.
One of the roots, just one of jam bands, is the psychedelic music of the 1960s.
Yeah.
Those folks improvised.
Yeah. Again, we're talking about the times influenced in music, and you can pick that up just in the flavor and the way the music is laid and what it's about. A lot of things. Say, for instance, the '60s was a revolution, and that flavor ran through the music. A lot of the songs were some are just out and outright political statements, whatnot of things, which should be, and put in music in an understandable form, so everybody can understand what that's about, what you're saying. And and most people like to listen to music, and if it's got, especially if it's saying something, and then we get later on into the rap. Rap is not of itself, I don't think, is bad, but it's the subject matter. To me, I find it can be not a thing, that I want to really hear, because I know about the hood, I know about the drugs, I know about that, and they start defaming women and calling them bad names, and all that kind of thing. I'm not really with that. However, rap can be good if it's clean, and says something that's meaningful for any community, not just the black community, but the community at large, the community of humans. I think that's an important thing that kind of bring us all together. There's a rap about something like that, peacefully, and I'm for that. But the violent rap, no, I'm not, man, because that permeates a whole different strain, and it's like rubbing a sore or irritating a bad sore, man. You know, so I said all that to say how strong of an influence music has, man, over the ages, the past, and strong in the present. And I'm feeling it will be strong in the future. I've always had dreams, but I never lived to do it. But someday, when they get things colonized in space, somebody be playing a gig off of one of them satellites, you know, or something like that. You know, it's kind of a trippy thing, but that's the future, maybe whatever. If man doesn't blow himself up. I don't know. I can't predict the future. I have no idea. But try to make the best of today, you know. And the future, possibly we can do things to help the future, for sure. But we can't really predict it, you know. And just go with what comes and deal with it the best way possible. And as a musician, I try to deal through the music, and I find that very calming. And I'm sure other artists do too, and as well. And you do, you know, it's a healing source, very healing source, man.
Music is healing.
Oh, absolutely, man. I can be feeling ever so bad, you know. I could have a cold like I got now, but if I sit down and run through some changes one night and try to rattle off some tunes that is healing and whatnot. But getting back to you've done a lot of things with KPFA, and I for one would like to grace your show sometime.
Well, I will take this opportunity to invite you to come down, and we'll have you on and maybe talk about some of the history of piano jazz. And
that's because I follow. There's so many piano players, man. Somebody said, "Who's my favorite?" Well, they're all good. Every last one of them. Strange. Some of them are strange, but they're all good because they all have a signature thing that's individual, and they don't sound like one another. Like if you listen to Monk, he don't sound like some people. And you got Hampton Halls. The list goes on. I mentioned Gil Scoggins and oh man, of course Errol Garner. I mean, it goes Barry Harris. I mean, you can go through the whole thing.
Junior Mance.
And I can't forget Junior Mance. My friend up on the mountain mentioned, likes him too. Med Doherty. He mentioned Junior Mance. He's a great piano player. I think Junior's gone now. I don't know. I'm not sure. Don't get me to talking, man. I have to look up some stuff. I don't like to have misinformation putting people away before they put away, you know.
Right.
So, but we'll leave that go. But yes, he was a great pianist, man. And of course, we bring it up to date with McCoy Tyner and Herbie Hancock and the different ones, you know, with their experiences, how they evolved and whatnot.
How about Gene Harris?
Oh, can't forget him. The Three Sounds. Oh my God.
The Three Sounds.
I had that album, man, with the red car, a Dodge on the front, and they got them cats standing outside the car, you know. I forgot what that was, man. Unfortunately, I think that album fell way to thievery, and my house was busted in, and that's another story.
Sometimes good albums disappear.
That one did, you know. And but I was meant to have soundtrack though. That disappeared and it came back another way, Around the Horn, which is a very classic album because one side was supposed to be for the French movie that Miles and them did, and they thought that was it. But the side they had to fill the other side of the album, and they put on it. Man, they put Green Dolphin Street on there, Put Your Right Foot Out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Fantastic. That's the side everybody listened to. So you never can really tell. You can set something out there and can't predict the public, you know. And, it was a classic. Cannonball Adderley, Train, Miles. Oh my goodness! Of course, you had Paul Chambers on bass. I think Wynton Kelly was on there, and the drummer I think was Philly Joe. I'm not sure. And of course later Tony Williams came into the scene. But that's a classic. That's a classic album, you know, and one anyone would be proud to own, you know, along with many of others, you know, whatnot.
We were talking about Gene Harris.
Yeah.
I'm proud to say that he comes from my hometown.
Oh,
We're both from the same town. I think he graduated from the same high school some years before I did. Benton Harbor, Michigan.
fantastic pianist.
Yeah.
And I met him once. Man. A nice cat, man. He seemed pretty cool. Matter of fact, the Three Sounds went to his bass player's house, and we all were jamming. And the reason I mentioned his bass player's house, this is unusual. You never think of somebody having, most time they have the piano and stuff in the basement. This cat had his piano up in the attic, an upright piano. I said, oh my God. I said, my back started hurting just looking at it. Well, how'd you do that, you know? And he told me, I think he had a hoist or something and brought it in through a window. I said, yeah, man, those steps are steep.
Through the window?
Yeah, through the on the attic, as what you call it. But I didn't figure that either, because it's square, and if the window isn't quite conducive to that, how in the world are you going to do that? But he did it. He was sitting up there in the attic of all places, and the Three Sounds comes in and played it, man, and that was quite. That was back in the days of Harry Belafonte with Deo, and the big color then was orange. Everything was orange. You wanted to be hip. You had something. You had to have dig orange. So that was that kind of thing. Again, mentioning jazz is its past and present and future, but the past has affected the present, and you hear a lot of flavors, but spin-offs from jazz, you know, and whatnot, and a lot of things very interesting. I would like to do some things with strings, with well, I don't want to say that for T-Boys, but I have some ideas. Put it that way. And I can say sophisticated soul, you know, that kind of thing. And there are those kind of things that you mix now so much. And with your sound, you develop your sound. However, I'm an old dinosaur. I love playing with the acoustic. And that gets back to the old jazz before the electric piano came in and whatnot. So I don't want to. What I'm getting back to your radio show. Any particular people that you interviewed or?
We've had Eddie Gale on. He came down to the studio and did an interview, and we promoted some of his community activities. The Concert for World Peace included.
Okay.
And in future weeks, we'll have more musicians on. We're working that up now.
Yeah, because that's just a wide field, man, and we are trying so much to keep it going, man. Not let it die out too much, and not become overshadowed by the offshoots of different from the jazz. I want to keep the pure jazz as close to being pure as possible, if not 100%, because those days you really, as an artist, you had to really kind of qualify. And that's what jam sessions did. As you know, they were a process of elimination. So if cats wasn't serious, they were,
They were cutting contests.
Cutting contests. Yeah. Now I'm not for that, because I don't think no music should be a battle. I think everyone has a right to express themselves, as long as it's true expression and they articulate their instrument well. Yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with that.
That's a really interesting observation you made, Will. A battle of the bands brings up the fighting metaphor.
Yes.
And our society loves fighting metaphors. We've got a war on poverty, a war on terrorism, a war on drugs. We've even got a war on illiteracy.
Yes.
And as far as it goes, yeah, nobody wants illiteracy, terrorism, or war of any sort or aggression. But when we start using fighting metaphors to guide our day-to-day life, I think it can become problematic.
Oh, yeah.
If we're not going to use fighting metaphors in jazz, what could we use?
Yeah.
What would be?
That's what I'm saying, yeah. Because like I say, music is not a war. I think that music is a peaceful, I alluded to earlier, it's a peaceful source of communication.
And jazz, with or without battle of the band type metaphors, is by definition a cooperative effort.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably one of our society's foremost examples of democratic cooperative action.
Yeah, yeah. And also, it's something that I like, especially the group can come together and we can feel one another musically. And it's almost like no script and create right on the spot.
One of the most interesting things for me is to go and watch a gig begin to develop. I'll go and get a seat right up next to the bandstand and watch the musicians show up. And sometimes these are musicians who might have been called at the last minute. Maybe a bass player couldn't make it, or the drummer was out of town. And so these people might never have played together.
Yes.
And they're all there. And then they're saying stuff like, what should we play? What should we hit with? And you see this social activity known as a jazz set literally being negotiated, improvised, and then they get up and they play those tunes. And to me, that's just amazing.
Yeah, because if we all get together on something we know, basically. I had an experience like that with Eddie Gale years ago, playing up in Berkeley, and the Sun Ra Band, and the horn player. Oh man, I can't remember his name. It was John. I remember his first name was John. Anyways, we went out on break, I think, and he had a paper bag, and he wrote some tunes down on a paper bag. And he said, "You know these?" I said, "Yeah, I know." And we went back inside and played them. You know, so that spontaneity, you know, it works so well. I did it with one of the TV shows here with my niece some years ago, and we didn't practice anything. We just, I called a set of tunes, and we just went and played them. The most outstanding one was, I can remember, Summertime. And I was counting it off. I had no way of how we were going to play that. And something just came in and fell right in. And we did, this is arrangement created right on the spot. And when those things happen, man, that's a jewel. Believe me, man, that's a jewel.
And the audience can sense that. They know that that's going on, even if they don't have the words for it or the intellectual understanding. They're not musicologists, but they pick up that vibe. Oh,
absolutely, absolutely, man. So, you know, like I say, now the future of music, we hope that it's positive, and we can keep working, you know, and do positive things with it. I know I'm going to make my contributions in that area, and I'm sure you keep doing what you can in your area, and our areas will blend together in some kind of way, and we can kind of help each other, you know, and to permeate this music. Oh, and I want to say, we got, speaking of Eddie Gale, I want to mention that he has the jazz things every second Sunday of the month. Last Sunday was Mr. B. The next one is, of course, Dwan Muhammad at the First AME Church, and that's at 95 South 20th in San Jose. And it starts at 3 o'clock, I think it's from 3 to 6 or 7, something like that.
I think 3 to 5.
3 to 5,
yeah.
Okay, 3 to 5. And it's something y'all should want to come out and check out. And of course, yours truly will be there November the 8th with my group, the Will Nichols, whatever I have. He said band, but I may just have a trio. It all depends. Got some time to work.
It's a small band.
Yeah,
still a band.
Yeah, it's still a band. So
I mean, they talk about one-man bands, so certainly 3 counts.
Oh, I think 3 counts. Definitely counts. And then we got the World Peace Orchestra is coming up. Different ones.
Every year, Eddie Gale and a lot of his associates such as yourself conduct a concert for world peace.
Yes, and I'm in on that. Yeah, the orchestra. Yeah. So, anyways, I want to say all that to say, and I want to thank my crew for coming out in such bad weather and whatnot. It's raining out there, buckets and whatnot. And of course, I thank KMVT Channel 15 for letting me have a show. And I'm able to impart information. I hope I did pretty well. I don't know if I missed anything. I probably think about it after a while, but that's like forgetting when you go to the grocery store, you forget the mustard or something. But anyways, man, it's a pleasure having you on the show.
A pleasure indeed.
And and we work together, man. Keep working together.
Indeed.
And make this thing happen, man. Because we need to keep it alive. And also with the, I got to talk to him about the other thing that I haven't heard from him about the health thing. Working with that. So we got a lot of irons on the fire, meaningful things for the future. I look forward to a good future. For us in this music and whatnot, and it's just vibrant at this time. We need something to kind of pull us away from all the stuff that's going on, this negative, and music is one of the strong forces.
And you can start bright and early, Friday morning, 5 a.m., early morning music on KPFA 94.1.
What's that?
94.1 FM.
Right. Want to get that in there. Anyway, so my comments, if you please, you contact Wilbur_Nichols 2003 at yahoo.com. And would like to hear your comments. What you think about the show? We work hard at producing these things. Our crew works very hard at producing these things. We would all like to know what you, the seeing audience, forgot that I started on radio, and which is okay. But
they're listening as well.
Of course, because there are two things going. And so let me know what you think, and we certainly do our best. All of us here. Involved the crew, myself, and to do the best and produce the best show possible, and for you out there. Try to get it. Yeah. All right, man.